Folks, right now as we speak, the British government is actually trying to deport their own citizens. Their own citizens. Deport them. Meanwhile, you got thousands of refugees from the Middle East coming in through the back door, and they're trying to deport legal British immigrants who are now British citizens. What I'm talking about is the so-called Windrush Generation. Now, these people are people from, they're mostly black people from the Caribbean who the British government begged them to come to the United Kingdom and help rebuild Britain after World War II. These people were asked to come, begged by the U.K. government to come and, clean the toilets and work in farms and clean hospitals and clean streets and drive buses and drive taxis and do domestic labor and do construction and rebuild the country after World War II, because the British people that were living there didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do that kind of domestic. They thought they were too good for it, Just like how you see Americans right now that don't want to do things like clean toilets or pick cotton or things like that. They have to get the illegals to come in, and then they bitch and moan when the illegal comes. But that's the thing, and I do too. But anyway, these people weren't even illegal. These people are legal. They are just as British as the Queen of England. In fact, probably more British than the Queen of England, because the Queen of England and her family, they're German. But anyway, these people came from Jamaica, Barbados, Bahamas, Antigua, all those British Commonwealth, Caribbean countries, Guyana, and they were asked to come over, and they brought their families with them to rebuild the mother country, and they came. Now what has happened, and by the way, there was until recently, any Commonwealth citizen, a citizen of a Commonwealth country, could move to the United Kingdom and was given automatic right to British citizenship. So these guys are British. And that's just how it is. They are. And they didn't even ask to go to Britain. They were perfectly happy in Jamaica. They were perfectly happy in Barbados. They were perfectly happy in Bahamas. They were happy in Guyana. They were happy in the nice warm sun. And then the British government begged these people to come to this cold, rainy place. And they came willingly, and they rebuilt the country after Hitler bombed it to the Stone Age. And to repay them now, the British government is trying to deport the children of the so-called Windrush Generation, because many of these people are unable to provide proof that they are British citizens. Partly it's their fault. They didn't apply for the British citizenship and the passport and all that stuff. So it's partly their fault. They took it for granted, yes. But the thing that really angers me is the fact that Britain is trying to deport their own citizens out the front door, but then bringing in Syrian refugees by the thousands through the back door and giving them all sorts of benefits and all sorts of stuff. They are, these precious, we must bring more. And the establishment of Britain is angry that the UK voted to leave the European Union after thousands of European people who have nothing to do with Britain, don't give two rats behind about Britain, have never contributed a red cent to Britain or even a can of peas to Britain, and they're coming in from the European Union. They don't have to show anything, and Britain said, we can't take this no more. And now the establishment that's running the country is trying to get rid of these people here. And this is an issue that really irks me, because the Windrush Generation did so much to help the mother country. And it's not like these people were like those type of immigrants trying to barge their way into the country. They were asked to come here. They were begged by the U.K. government to come here. Begged. And now the U.K. government is trying to get rid of them. The Prime Minister, Theresa May, who I think needs to leave immediately. Get rid of this woman so quickly. I think the Conservative Party, the Tories, the UK Tories should get rid of this woman as fast as the plague and make her go sit in the streets of London and shine shoes or something, because she has been a disaster. And I don't know, she's messing up the whole Brexit thing. She's just a complete disaster. This government is getting rid of these people who did so much for the country domestically when the UK people didn't want to do the domestic labor and the menial tasks. These dark-skinned people from the Caribbean who were children of the mother country came over, did it good too, and now their children are being threatened with deportation. But meanwhile, the moment the UK government and any of these European governments find some brown guy out there in Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever, they'll scoop him up as fast as dog poop and put him there in London or in Manchester or in Leeds or in Newcastle upon Tyne or in Edinburgh in the beautiful county of Scotland or in Belfast or in Cardiff or in Swansea. I mean, you go to England. I've been to England a few times. I've been to Bradford. And you see some of these places in the UK, you think you are in freaking Africa. You think you are in Palestine. And so you go to London, certain parts of London, you think you are in Palestine. The amount of people with things on their head. And I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not being racist. Don't you tell me I'm being racist. Don't you tell me the Iran nation being racist. I'm not. I love everybody, every skin color, I don't like every religion. I don't like Islam, but that's an institution. I like every race, every gender, I love every income state. I don't discriminate against those things. I don't. But the thing is that these are citizens, and just because they're black doesn't mean that these people might automatically be illegals. Their parents, this could have happened to me. My parents, my two parents, were, especially my father, the UK government begged him to come to the United Kingdom, and he did. They begged him. They went on their hands and knees and begged my father, please come to the United Kingdom and be a doctor in Manchester, please. My dad didn't have to do. Let me tell you something. My dad, he's a doctor, and a good one. He's a psychiatrist. He could make more money in the Caribbean right now than he does in these Western countries. When you are a doctor or a lawyer or a business person in the third world country, you live like a king. You live like a king. When you're educated in those countries, you live like a god. Okay? You don't have to go to no rainy England and be first world doctor candidate, all this stuff. He could be living in some huge mansion in Jamaica or Belize or somewhere, walls around it, butler, chauffeur-driven car. That's what happens when you are doctors, lawyers, people like that, business people in the Caribbean, like Brazil, or in any third world country, Brazil, South Africa. When you have those kind of occupations, I'm telling you the truth, you are not middle class. You are rich because of the gap, the income gap in those countries. You're either extremely rich or you're extremely poor. If you don't have an education, just like if you don't have an education in Jamaica, you're done. I mean, you live here in Canada where I am, you don't have an education, you probably live better than the people who do have an education, which is a shame and a sin. But you have an education in those kind of countries, you are so, I don't know, you think, let me tell you something, I'm mad at my dad for moving to England. Why would he move there and then come to Canada and America? You know how great we'd be living, so don't tell me, oh, immigrant this, immigrant. They didn't have to do it. They begged him. And let's say I was born in England, which I wasn't. My parents decided that they wanted to come to Canada. Let's say I was born there. And maybe I didn't apply for a British passport. That would be my own fault. And now the British government is trying to throw me out after my parents came to the UK and was a doctor and was educated and paid taxes and contributed to the society and did all sorts of stuff. Even if he was a laborer, he's doing work that the UK people there didn't want to do. If those black people hadn't come to the UK, England probably would still be bombed up looking like the worst part of Detroit because of Hitler. They cleaned the place up. They did the work. Stop trying to deport them. And then stop trying to deport your own citizens and then bring in the refugees from all these places who don't contribute anything to the society. Nothing but crime and problems. I mean, not all of them, maybe. I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of these guys, I mean, what are they contributing? So that's my thing that I learned about what's going on in England. And I think England really, getting out of the EU is not enough. They need fundamental change in their leadership. I think Europe needs to turn back to God. I mean, you notice the moment Europe turned away from God, that's when all the problems started. You notice when all these Western countries turned away from God, that's when all the problems started. That's when when all of them started, I'm going to turn to the atheist. And this, and they turn away from it, and all the problems start. But I don't know, maybe it's the end times, I don't know. But this is the Arana Nation. Remember to make sure to get your very own Arana Nation t-shirt by going down to the comment section and clicking on the pinned link at the top of the comment section to be redirected to the website where you can get your very own Arana Nation t-shirt.